this is Tim Collins from DigiVac, and I wanted to describe to you the purpose of these valves that we assembled for this pump down solution for our customer. So here we have a turbo pump, and how a turbo pump works is it has 4-line vacuum that allows it to create high vacuum through its inlet. So it's important to stage the pumps. So here's how we did it. First, we've got a rough pump here, and the rough pump is connected to both the 4-line valve that takes the vacuum from the roughing pump and connects it to the 4-line of the turbo pump, and then we have another valve here off that same pump that is the roughing valve. So here's how it breaks down. What happens first when we start up the system is we need to get the turbo ready for action. For the turbo pump to work at all, it needs to be ready for action. And for that to happen, we need to have this 4-line at some pressure, typically below a torr or 2 torr or something like that. So we start up the pump, let that get ahead of steam, we turn on the 4-line valve, get that nice and low. Once that's nice and low, then we shut off this 4-line valve and turn on our roughing valve. So before the turbo can do its job, the whole tank has to be roughed out, down to a torr, or in this case, half a torr, 500 millitorr. So now the 4-line's all roughed out. Now we're going to open up the roughing valve and rough this whole tank out. So we'll rough this whole tank out down to about half a torr. Once it's down to about half a torr, then the turbo pump can do its job. So now what we do is we shut off this roughing valve, turn on this 4-line valve, right? And then turn on this turbo isolation valve. And now the turbo is pumping directly onto the tank. No longer are we roughing it, but we're trying to pull this tank down to high vacuum. The nice thing about that is everything else is isolated. Let's move over here for a second to the gate valve. So the venting valve rather. So what the venting valve's operation is it allows air to come out of the tank. Here's another important reason to have this gate valve. If I let air out of the tank, and this air comes quick, right? If I let air out of this tank, I want to make sure that my gate valve turns off real quick, right? Because if we expose the inlet of a turbo pump to high pressure, it's not so good for the turbo pump. It might not blow up, but it might. So we want to avoid exposing high pressure to this turbo pump. So this gate valve has 2 reasons. One, it allows the turbo pump to be engaged in the tank. 2, it protects the turbo pump. So when you're roughing out, the turbo pump is happily just pumping off this small volume. That's an overview of the pump down and the valve operation for this particular prototype that we made for a customer.